Idols are people, experiences, ideas, and objects that we substitute for God. We lean on them, hope in them, and find refuge in them. These can be good things, friends, as in the case of a child or a spouse, or they can be sinful things that we should actually hate. Instead, friends, the fingers of our hands grabs into these things and hold into them. We trust and hope in them. The nation of Israel is perhaps one of the saddest historical case studies of idolatry, friends. A long line of kings who did what was evil in the sight of the Lord eventually led to their downfall. God exposed their worship of Baal and Ashtaroth through these prophets, namely Elijah. However, their continual rebellion brought about God's judgment at the hands of the Assyrians in 72 BC. Now, let's look at how God exposed and judged Israel idolatry and see how we can learn from their example. In 1 Kings 18:20-39, Elijah went to great lengths to prove to Israel that Yahweh was God. While Israel people could recall the countless blessings of the Lord, their hearts were still reluctant to fully follow him. Elijah took this opportunity, friends, to expose the importance of Baal and thereby show the futility and the emptiness of idolatry. The Baal or the stone god was powerless to send fire down from heaven to ignite the altar. Only Yahweh controls the weather and everything else. He alone is God. Therefore, only He should be worshipped and trusted. Idols can only make promises, friends. They cannot keep these promises, but we foolishly believe they can. We believe money can secure our happiness and joy. We believe pleasure can be our refuge and comfort. We believe success in business will validate our worth. We believe successful children will equate with our success. Proverbs 13 verse 12 says, "Delayed hope makes the heart sick." This means that if our hope is in something that can fail, our hearts will fall with it. Our inner life will decay. This is what idols do, friends. They fail. Trusting in these things should be as foolish to us as worshipping Baal was to Elijah. What is your functional object of trust, friends? What do you love too much? What if you lose it? Will it make life unlivable? What are the fingers of your heart grasping too tightly? Friends, what will you sin to inquire it? Our hearts default to idolatry, but only God can truly secure and satisfy us. Only Yahweh is God, friends. In 2 Kings 17:16-18, despite what God did on Mount Carmel, the Israelites continued in their rebellious ways. Though God sent them prophets and seers in verse 8:13, they will not listen. Therefore, God had to act in judgment against his people. So he removed them from his presence. That's what verse 18 says. He used the nation of Assyria, the rod of his anger, says Isaiah 10 verse 5, to judge and destroy the nation he loved and miraculously delivered from Egypt. While we must be careful not to attribute all of our suffering to sin and idolatry, we are promised, friends, that God disciplines those that he loves. In Hebrews chapter 12 verse 5-11. When Christians continue in idolatry, God has to respond. When we foolishly trust and love the wrong things or love the right things too much, God often allows suffering to enter our lives as a reminder. James assures us that we can count it all joy because our faith is being tested. James chapter 1 verse 2. God purges the idols of our lives and loosens our grip on our false trust. He shows us how our desire for good things turn into demands, and those demands often become little deities that we take into our hearts. Ezekiel 14 verse 3. But we can trust that he is aiming all of our circumstances, though painful at times, towards making us like his sons. Romans 8:28-29. God is is always after our hearts. He wants our full devotion and worship. We should not be surprised when God uses any and every means to turn our hearts back to Him. This might be a season of financial stress or the undoing of our plans. God is covenantally committed to us. He will always pursue us in love to keep our hearts fully devoted to Him. In what ways, friends, have you seen God graciously expose and act against the idols in your life? Have you sought to renounce those idols and daily trust in God? Though God exposed and judged the idolatry of Israel through the prophet Micaiah, He promised to gather a remnant to Himself. That's Micaiah chapter 2, verse 12 and 13. How will God do this? He promised, one will come from you to be a ruler over Israel for me. His origin is from antiquity or from eternity. He will stand and shepherd them in the strength of Yahweh, in the majestic name of Yahweh his God. They will live securely. From then, His greatness will extend to the ends of the earth. Micah chapter 5, verse 2. Now, friends, God will send His Messiah among them to redeem them. Jesus Christ on the cross will experience the ultimate removal from God's presence. That's Mark 15:13 and 2 Corinthians 5:21. In order to gather God's people to Himself and purify them from all idolatry. Titus 2:14. Now, what will become the object of their worship for all eternity? Friends, now God is talking to us today for the idols that are in our life, so that we remove them and trust in Him. May the Lord bless us as we take our faith back to Him in this last day as we wait for His second coming. Amen.